In this video, we're going to talk about the printing capabilities within Dynamic Analyst. And we're going to start with the example Dynamic Analyst train that Mark had been using in the previous versions, previous video versions. And we're going to go ahead and assume that you just finished that last quiz and just start from there and want to print out what you had seen in Dynamics. So this is our Belt Analyst screen, what you've been seeing already, and we're going to go to our Dynamic Analyst, and it's going to have kind of the results that we had just received from that last bit of the quiz, the previous quiz, and we're going to want to print this out. And what's important to note here is this notes screen and what's going to be put into the printout. The reason we have this notes screen is so you can actually put it who's done the analysis. That's what the engineer value is for, what company you work for. In my case, I'm Paul Ormsby. I work for Overland Conveyor, and so that's the company. The project, you can say the name of the project, where it is. Let's say it's in Colorado, and the description. And for these values internally, we like to do things like high power conditions. Maybe it's fully loaded. All these things will be printed out at the top of the printout, so you'll need to input those in order to get a good printout. The final thing that's going to be put on the printout, and it's marked public, is this comment section, and these are any notes you want to put. For example, if you remember on that last example, we had used a 100,000 Newton meter brake and applied over 3 seconds. So you can put notes like that, and that'll show up at the top of every printout page that you put, so that people know that that's how it was controlled and how it would be done. Another important thing to note about the printout is we do have animation capabilities, and if you want that to be a part of your printout, it's important to label the top of your animation. So if I click on animation, it brings up the animation, and I have a little box up here that I can fill with information about this. And so I can say, project name, high power, and hit enter. I'm going to put stop with brakes. Something like that. That will be put in the printout, and then when you make an animation, it'll also be at the top of the animation when you print it out. What's also important to note is if you want to describe what's happening in the printout for each of these graphs, including the animation, there is also a public comment section at the bottom of each graph. You see, if I go to tensions, the graph has public comments, speed, power. And so if I want to make a note that'll be added to the bottom of every piece of every graph that's in the printout, I can say, drive stops in 6 seconds in this case. And that will be put in the printout. And I can go through every single graph and make comments as deemed fit. For example, if I look at this one, actually our slip looks like the blue line comes close to the blue slip limit line, and I can make a comment that how need to improve slip. So that's a comment you can address. So we'll go through that. That seems fine, and let's go ahead and click print. I'll just go to the file print, and what pops up is a little dialog box that's asking me what do you exactly want to print out. There's lots of options here, and it's just a simple click on, click off value that you can choose to print whatever you feel. So the static input, just as a description, is going to be all the basic inputs from belt analyst that came into this analysis. So if you want to print out all the flights and the tensions and everything that came from belt analyst along with this, you can click static input data. Control input is how I'm controlling the system. You normally would definitely want to put that in there. Things like what's on the left-hand side of the screen here, the in our case, the brakes. We're turning on the brakes in this one and stopping the conveyor, and you can see how the brakes are being controlled. And so you'll want to display that in your printouts. And also simulation input. That's the more nitty-gritty details about the FEA analysis and what time step you're using, all the details about the math. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. It's kind of up to you. Typically, when I'm making a printout, I like to just show the controls and have an animation. The animation will it'll create a PDF that has a little area where you can create a button, and that button will be able to open an animation that shows the stop in this case and how it was displayed. And then this section is just the graphs. Do I want to display the graphs? If I have more than one plot point selection, I can click here for plots points 1, 2, and 3 if I want to display different things, and then the graphs for each one. And if you remember, I added some chart comments. I can add, make sure to print those out or not, and you can see what it is. But for our case, I'm going to go ahead and show everything. I'm going to click everything, and we're going to go ahead and print that out. And we do have a Create PDF button over here. If you don't want to just print this out to a printer, you can create your own PDF, and I'm going to do that. As soon as I do that, it's going to go through and capture all the screens, and it's going to remind you that the animation isn't done automatically. You actually need to record that yourself, but it will create a little button for you in your PDF where you can open up that animation. So I hit OK. It goes through. You can see the progress bar stepping along. It's creating my animation or my PDF for me, and I'm going to save it right where I have all my files, and I call it just datrain1.pdf. I hit save. And it's writing it. And I'm going to give it a few seconds. And here it is. Here it popped up finally. The printout pops up with just, as I mentioned, the project, the notes tab information, and project information at the top of every page, with a page label, what version of Dynamics you were running, the basic information that we gave it before, and also what case we were printing out. In this case, it has a big red stop letting us know that we are running. This is the stopping case and the printouts for it. If you remember, the first checkbox we clicked on that dialog box was the static input data. And so this is basically the information grabbed from Belt Analyst that was used as initial input data into Dynamics. So you have your material information, the capacity information, your belt data with belt rubber properties that was automatically grabbed from Belt Analyst, whatever it was being used there, all the pulley information with the power, RPM, efficiencies, drags, diameters, and also the flight information, so the basic profile information from that. The next input, next checkbox that we clicked was the control input data. You'll notice on the second page even the same title block is used from that notes tab on Dynamics. So just remember, it goes on the top of every page. Control input. So most of this we left uncontrolled, basically had motors on it, but there was no controllers for it. Drives 1, drives 2, no controllers. And really the only thing that we did control is we added a 100,000 Newton meter brake, and we turned it on over 3 seconds. And you can see it's displayed for whoever reads this report. It says that's how I controlled it. Backstops, any control information for backstops or take-ups are there, but it was pretty simple. We didn't control them. That third checkbox was simulation input data. So this is basically the simulation tab from Dynamics. What calculation methodology you were using, the number of elements that were on there, what damping multiplier, the starting and stopping, simulation time, and how many plot intervals and time increments you have. So basically the simulation tab. And then we have our printout for the animation, and this allows you to relabel within Adobe Acrobat. If I want to change where the AVI file attached to this is, I can add a little link with this link button and make this a clickable button, and it will automatically open up the animation. That was the intention of this. And remember, this has the little label that we had put in above the animation for us all as well. And then after that, it's just the graphs. Our attention graph with everything that we had seen in the plot point 1. Velocity with our little comments underneath it if we wanted to describe it any better. And it's pretty self-explanatory from here on. Just each of those graphs with the same title block and any comments that we may or may not have added at the bottom of those graphs.